All right, so I'd like to introduce Andy DeVillio, the general manager of Tridium. Come on up, Andy.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Otherwise known as Mad Dog Racing, Mad Dog DeVillio.
Thank you.
He's our catcher, by the way.
I've been called worse. All right, well, hey, thanks for, pretty echoey. Thanks for having me here today, and always appreciate the Cochrane team and everything that they do for this industry. So my name's Andy DeVillio. I lead the Tridium business, the Vykon business. Been a part of this business for about a year, but have been in the automation space and the control space for a very long time. And if any of you know me, you know, I'm pretty much a suit and tie guy when it comes to these kind of events. I don't have the courage to come out here in an astronaut suit or a baseball uniform, but if I did, I'm pretty sure I'd look something like this. As you can tell maybe from my accent, I'm a Philly guy, kind of 3 generations of family, always from the Philly area. I've had apartments in many other places. Most recently, I have an apartment in Richmond, Virginia, which is where Tridium is headquartered. It's a great little city. And so if any of you are in that area, you want to come visit with us, we'll show you our lab, we'll show you our demo center, we'll spend as much time with you as you want. But Richmond's actually a really nice place. And so keeping with, that's Kyle Schwerber, by the way, which, you know, I think it's pretty fitting, you know, so. Also my wife's favorite baseball player, so when she saw that, that was a good day. All right, so keeping with the baseball theme, this is actually one of my favorite quotes. And, you know, for me, this quote's all about going and getting it. And I think in our personal lives and our professional lives, there's always those intersections where we have to make a decision, go do something that's difficult, you know, but worth it. And so I think a brand and a company, you know, that chose that path is Vykon, quite frankly. And again, I'm new to the business, so I can't take credit for everything that they've done, but we are celebrating our 25th anniversary of innovation and channel excellence. So for all of you that have helped us get there, and for all the Vykon people in the room, please a nice round of applause. So thank you. And so I joined this company because, number one, I really like the people, I like the culture, and of course, it's a very innovative technology. And so usually when I do a presentation like this, I try to kind of ground myself and ground the audience as to what my guiding principles are. And I feel that the guiding principles that I've had throughout my career really match what Tridium and Vykon has stood for. So I want to take a minute to share that with you. So there's 4. And so the first is all around easy to do business with. And I think many of the speakers spoke about this today, trying to make it easy. And, you know, it is a bit of a hard business. We do a lot of software. There's difficult licensing models. We have a lot of processes. And so we know every day that we don't want you spending a lot of time with us. We'd rather you're out there spending time with your clients. So we work on this every day. It's a journey for us, and we're committed to always trying to make it easier for you. My second guiding principle is really all about you, the channel. So I spent my whole career in the channel. Tridium is 100% channel-based business. We have no direct accounts. Everything we do is through our Niagara community. And the one thing I've learned is the channel doesn't like gray, doesn't like confusion, or lack of decision making. The channel likes black or white. And so we're committed to be as honest and frank as we can, and to make every decision with integrity. And I would say probably 95% of the time, we're perfectly aligned. But there's probably 5% of the time when maybe we want to head in one direction and you'd like us to head in a different direction. And that's okay, but we'll always be clear on that. And we'll always try to do what we say, and we'll never commit to doing something and then not go do it for you. So for me, that's pretty important. It's pretty important for our brand. And third is around profitability. And so I think that all the speakers came up here and talked about a lot of different technologies and a lot of innovations, and they were all wonderful. and all thought-provoking. But I think the one thing that's unique with us is everything we do is to help you grow and to give you an opportunity to monetize what we create, because we're an enabling technology, and then you use your skills and your expertise to go make it better and bring value to your customers. So it's important to us that our solutions and our offerings provide you with a greater capability to earn profit than others in the industry, and we work at that really hard. And then last, it's kind of the first thing I said, I joined this company because of the people. And so you have my commitment to continue to make sure that our people are trained and educated and well cared for, and that we continue to bring the best people we can, so that when we have the pleasure of going with you to one of your clients, you could be assured that you have some of the best people in the industry with you. So that's pretty much what I stand for, and what I still believe that Vykon Tridium stands for. And so this is the part I know that everybody wants to get to, and I'm going to have Stephen, the holy flame of BAS, come out here in a few minutes. I think I got his nickname right, because Scott told me I had to say it about 10 times. It's actually a pretty cool nickname. And so we're continuing to innovate. We have a lot on our strategic roadmap. We're continuing to innovate with the core. We're continuing with our edge devices. We're developing new drivers. And then, of course, there's a lot around cloud, which I'll talk to in a minute. In fact, this year in 2025, we're investing 35% more in our R&D spend than we have in previous years. And we continue to invest a lot in R&D. So for a company to put another 35% in, it's pretty big. And so we'll do our part by continuing to bring that enabling technology to you. Hopefully you'll do your part by continuing to make the community stronger. And so Stephen will talk a lot more about the specifics of the offering. I did want to talk a little bit about how we commercialize some of this, and I'll end there. I won't start there. I'm going to start here. So first, it's about demand creation, and I think every vendor that came up here spoke about trying to create demand so that this community can grow, and that's exactly what we all need to be doing. So we're going to continue to go out there and create demand for you. We've added new resources to our staff to go do that. We're also going to help to create demand by making sure you have the right value props in front of you, and just making sure that you're well educated on what we're trying to bring to market. Secondly, we want to grow this community, and so we have very good partner programs out there. We continue to add new integrators. We continue to look at other areas around the world, verticals that we're not in. I think Dave had mentioned there's a lot of key verticals that are growing faster than other. And so we want to make sure that we continue to bring those ideas forward to you, and Stephen will talk about that in a few minutes. And then last, and this is one that I'm going to spend a lot of time on, is our training and education model. So we have a very deep training model here. Although I do think that today, maybe we can innovate this area as well, where I think today certain people like to learn a little differently than they did in the past. Maybe a whole week training is too long for certain types of skill sets, certain integrators, certain jobs that you may be going after. So we're going to stay with what we have, but we also look to improve here as well. And you know, I've talked to some of you already today about that. I'll continue to talk to you throughout the rest of the day and tomorrow. And so now we want to make sure we cover all the bases and come home here and talk about transformation. And so I do believe this industry is at an inflection point, and I think we're all in a great spot and a great place to be. And you've heard a lot about cloud from everybody else, so now it's my turn to speak a little bit about cloud as well. So let's watch this short video.
Niagara Cloud Suite is a simple, effective platform that harnesses the power of the cloud to any supported Niagara device, reducing your development time, minimizing the need for IT support, and eliminating the need for additional hardware. All you need is a subscription. Niagara Data Service, a Niagara Cloud Suite offering, provides access to contextualized data for trend analysis, as well as live read and write access utilizing our suite of APIs. Let's see how it works. Meet Ian, an engineer. He needs to get building data into an application he's developing. Normally, he's relied on third-party hardware gateways and/or a lot of development time to get that data. And making the data available at scale is turning into an even larger effort. Fortunately, he's just enabled Niagara Data Service, a simple way to provide real-time encrypted access to data without gateways or vendor tech support. Data Service is a cloud platform providing contextualized single source of truth for rich building data, usable in analytics, alarm management, energy optimization platforms, and beyond. The benefits are clear. With Niagara Data Service, you can access, store, and analyze trend data and retrieve data on demand with live read and write of data via API for integration flexibility and speed. It's not just a better way to run your business, it's a digital change engine for buildings.
So the one thing around cloud that I want to leave you with is we're trying to create the easy button. So again, back to that theme of making it easier for you. So an easy way, a cost-effective way to provide that data pipe that's cyber secure, always up to date, and ultimately safe, and more to come around that. And as always, with our new technologies, the one entity that always tries to embrace those first is Cochrane. And so I just want to say thank you to the entire Cochrane team, because you are out there running. And so you've done 5 events already. You have 3 more planned. I think you've already trained up close to 50 SIs, and we have what's called our Premium Cloud Integrator program. And so if you're in the room and you don't know about that, or you haven't signed up for that, it involves free demos and learning and value props and use cases, and just a good way for you to get a flavor for what we have to offer. And I think it's another way for you to create value for your own company as well as create value for your end users. So either talk to anybody at Cochrane or anybody at Vykon about that. And so now we started the morning with the all-star lineup, and at this point we're going to continue down that theme. And if you notice, we even have Scott with the home jersey, and so thank you to Danielle for doing this. And so it's been my pleasure to talk to you for a few minutes, but at this point, I'd like to bring out Stephen, the holy candle of BAS, Holicky.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, we've had a hell of a lineup today. I'm batting 8th, so you know where that puts me in terms of the roster. Batting average, not as good as the predecessors, but I'll tell you what. We've got a number of exciting plays in store for you today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a quote, very similar to Andy. Now, you saw I'm a Boston Red Sox fan based on that image. But this one in particular is striking, not because I love baseball, but also because, if you think about our industry, this is certainly relevant. He said baseball is the only field of endeavor where a man can succeed 3 times out of 10. He's considered a good performer. Now, when it comes to the work we do on a day-to-day, what you do as a system integrator, you get one shot sometimes. One shot. And if you do a poor job with that building, with that integration, that might be the last time you step foot in that door. And so when it comes to what's driving our product strategy, it's you. It's enabling you to be more successful on what you do on a day-to-day. I just marvel at the fact that the Niagara framework is something that when we ship from Tridium and it arrives on your doorsteps, it does nothing. Absolutely nothing. You plug that JSON to the wall, sure, it has some nice blinking lights, but what is it doing? Nothing. It takes you all. It takes your effort, your energy. It takes your know-how to be able to take our tool set and build something special with the Niagara framework. And so, the market landscape that we're all experiencing, facing today, I think has been well touched on by the prior speakers. In fact, given some of the bullet points that you're seeing here, I think you're actually starting to see some alignment. So insofar as the challenges or the opportunities that we face as an industry, we have significant alignment. Whether it was from Olimo, you have Johnson Controls, Distech, Honeywell, we're all seeing the same set of challenges or opportunities. And as Jim mentioned, the digitization of our environment is something that has been happening for decades. Some people have been clamoring on the sidelines saying, damn it, industry, why aren't you guys moving faster? What is your problem? Now we understand that buildings evolve in a much slower fashion. But the people that are making it happen, this whole trend is being enabled by you all. And so from a Tridium perspective, we believe in empowering that whole workflow, empowering you to be more successful with what you do. Now AI is something that we do think is an enabler for you in that regard. And the reason why is because there are plenty of repetitive tasks. There are other just general ways of interacting with the product that certainly can be assisted by just a little bit of guidance. As I mentioned, the Niagara framework really doesn't do anything when we ship it to y'all, but you do something with it. Imagine if you had some guardrails in place, specifically if you're a new user. It's like putting up bumpers in the bowling lane. But either way, there's a compelling need within the industry to harness the use of AI. And of course, what that's going to do is it's going to ensure that the work that you put towards these integration jobs are utilized to the fullest extent. You are optimizing your outputs. That energy that you put towards that job is as efficient and as optimized as it can be. And then of course you're using automation systems at the end of the day. These automation systems are managing the operation of the facility, and more often than not, it's leading to energy savings, operational savings. But as we start to see more legislation, which is going to require buildings to reduce their energy consumption, you have a product that you can trust, that you can lean on to help fulfill that objective. And then at the heart of it all, just what Jim said, cybersecurity. If your product is not secure, then we really do not believe that you have a product at all. Now, that is why our mantra is secure by default. And what that means is that the first time that you're using that product, you've got all the most secure parameters selected by default. That means you don't have to question the robustness of that instance. You know that the first time you use it, it's configured how it needs to be in order to ensure that it is secure. Again, when you think about some of the articles that Jim just showed, it can be something that's a little unnerving. And you need a product that you can rely upon that can give you the insights about the way that the existing system is configured. That's what our security dashboard provides. But then also, I don't have to second guess the first time I start using the product. It's secure by default. So from a product strategy, we are taking advantage of the market landscape. And it's focused in 5 key vectors. So at the heart of it all is the Niagara core. That's that same product you know and love, and I'll get into more detail about that as we speak. The Niagara Cloud Suite, we're expanding that to not only move the whole supervisor as you know it today into the cloud, but also to enable the proliferation of applications that also exist within our domain that need data to either do whatever they're reporting they're going to do, to really help those building owners manage their facilities, help the equipment operators operate more efficiently. There's plenty of value that you get by moving into the cloud. We'll touch on that here in a second. But then we know that not everybody can use a public cloud. Some people have an isolated environment, and so when I'm managing my own cloud infrastructure, how do I get the data from a Niagara instance into that environment? And those are things that we are working on as we speak, and I'll be talking about. Now, once you get down the stack, you get closer to the edge. And whether those are your unitary controllers, your application-specific, your plant controllers, things like that, we're working on a new set of offerings, specifically on the hardware side, that will enable you to continue to use Niagara for those critical use cases. And then, of course, it all starts and stops with connectivity. Those drivers, that's the bread and butter of our product, and we're going to continue to enhance that. And that will be really reflected in some of the things that we have coming within 4.15 and then beyond. So 4.15 is just around the corner. So we're expecting to have this available on the 28th of May. So just a few more weeks. And 415 has plenty to offer. Whether it's the JACE 9000 supporting Wi-Fi, whether it's those new HTML5 views that you can now use in the browser, such as the PX editor, the relation sheet. What we've done with 415 is really taken the Niagara framework and really leveled it up. And there's one feature in particular that I know will really help you solve some of the headaches that you're likely experiencing when you are using Niagara. And show of hands, how many people, how many contractors out here have had to deal with IT departments, or rather argue with IT departments about opening port 4911 to get Fox traffic moving from one end to the next? Let me see, show of hands. How many we got? Okay. So it seems to be a pretty frequent problem. Well, now with 415, we're wrapping that Fox traffic WebSocket, which means that you can use your standard HTTP ports for the movement of that Fox traffic, which means you no longer have to hassle with that IT department when they're wondering why you need port 4911 open. It's a non-standard port, why should you need that? And so now we're actually going to be able to use those standard HTTP ports, which should give you all your time back. And of course, that's one less headache, one less Advil that you have to take just to get through the whole process. Now, 415's also given us the ability to make that next step into Niagara 5 that I'm going to be speaking about. Now, of course, at the core of our product, this is one thing that we celebrate so dearly, but what we've been doing to augment the core and its current functionality is by providing new capabilities within the cloud. That not only complements what the Niagara framework does on a day-to-day, but also gives you the ability to provide that next level service to your customers. And so as Andy just showed, we got a great video on the Niagara Cloud Suite of some of the things that you can do. But of course, we've got plenty more in the hopper, plenty more in the oven. So when it comes to Niagara Remote, we've got some exciting things coming for you all, and one of those is really sourced from some of the feedback that we received during the kind of initial testing for Niagara Remote. Now you asked, hey, it's great to be able to have this remote connectivity without the need of a VPN, without the need of some extra hardware just to be able to access that Niagara device. But, as you mentioned, there are plenty of other devices, JACEs, maybe powered by Niagara devices from some of our partners here in the venue. And when they're below that supervisor, you want the ability to be able to access those as well. And those are things that are coming with Niagara Remote. We're currently working on that as we speak. And what that will essentially be for you all is that you have your remote connection at the supervisor, and let's say you have some JACEs connected to that supervisor. You're going to be able to use that same Niagara Remote license that you had at your supervisor to be able to access the stations running on those JACEs or those powered by Niagara devices. So that in particular is really going to help you in how you manage those instances for your customers. And then of course it's going to help us as we make this transition to a cloud-native offering. Now Niagara Recover, of course, is the service that gives you the insurance for that station. Now, of course, some of us are backing up our stations on a day-to-day, either on that local network drive or perhaps it's on the server that's running the supervisor. But as we know, disasters happen. And in the event that you didn't take a backup before you left the site, and let's say there was a water leak in the IT closet or in the server room, and it goes down and you don't have a backup of that station. As a building owner, you're in a tight spot. And Recover gives you that natural insurance to say, hey, look, we got a backup of it. And the best part about it, it's all accessible in the cloud. And it's something that you didn't have to configure. It just automatically backs itself up on a routine interval. And so what we're going to be using Recover for is to give you the ability to remotely update the software running on your Niagara instances. So if you think about some of the cybersecurity challenges that we're all facing, it's been touched upon by every single speaker up here on the stage. It's so important. And given some of the threats that Jim mentioned, yeah, these things are essentially table stakes at this time. And so this is something that we're going to be offering through Niagara Recover, and it'll be offered through that same value that you get today. You have your active SMA, you're using that bundled SMA more in particular, you're going to have the ability to be able to remotely update all of those instances. And then when you think about what you get with remote, being able to access all those connected devices as well, that's really where you can start to visualize some more exciting opportunities that you can use to better manage your facilities and help your customers do that. Now, Niagara Data Service has been something that we have been building out over time. And the reason why, if you've wondered why, hey, you offer histories, semantically enriched histories, which is just histories with tags and relations. And you've given me the ability to be able to query that data with an API. Those are things that, of course, are going to be required by maybe some analytics applications that you've been dealing with or that you've taken a look at. But what we've been doing, actually, is taking all of the major components that you would find within a Niagara station and storing them in a scalable database within the cloud. And the reason we're doing this currently, is to build that next generation supervisor. Now, you heard Dave allude to that. He showed you kind of an architectural diagram of what this looks like, but data service is essentially the foundational infrastructure that we're using to be able to do this. And the whole idea behind this is that if you have integrated or interacted with a supervisor, and let's say that you're storing all those alarms and histories on that server within that local database within Niagara, you know that once those record counts start to grow, it starts to impact the performance of that supervisor, specifically during that startup time, right? Because you'll see that all those records actually have to be indexed before the station can actually start. And so by shifting all that data into the cloud, you're going to ensure that that Niagara station, its performance rather, is optimized. And any external application, whether it's the customers or it's some third party, they can call into that data stack whenever they want. They get the tags, they get the relations, they get the live point values, they have the histories, and now we have alarms as well. So when you think about the number of components or data types that you currently use with Niagara today, you're going to have those all available to you through data service. And then as we make the transition to the next step of our journey, we have the Niagara Cloud Suite that is going to take shape into what is otherwise our next generation cloud supervisor. Now, it's going to be building upon all the things that I just mentioned. We've got the data service, that's that base level infrastructure, but then the Niagara Remote, the ability to be able to access these stations from the cloud to the building securely without the need of any extra hardware, without the need of any configuration by you all. Think of the time that you will save. And then to the end users, think of the assuredness that they'll receive because they know that there's effectively one way to do it. And this is stamp of approval, as I would say, from Tridium. Now, this is going to give us the ability to really handle all the data that you're seeking to bring into Niagara. Now, it's an integration platform at the end of the day. And many people like to put as much data as they possibly can into Niagara. And we want to give them a product that they can turn to be able to achieve those outcomes. And so the next generation supervisor is going to be a hosted solution, first within Azure, that you'll be able to use. And of course, because we're Tridium, we're also going to be doing one that's more in an agnostic manner that will give you the ability, for example, to do the hosting within a private environment, giving you that flexibility of choice while ensuring the reliability of the systems that are really the underlying infrastructure for getting that data where it needs to go and then turning that into real value in accordance with our customers' end objectives. Now, this is all going to be released in coincidence with my favorite, Niagara 5. So there's plenty coming here. Now, one of the reasons that we've made this jump is, of course, well, we need to. Niagara 4 was introduced almost about 10 years ago. And so we're ready for the next change. We really are. And One of the primary reasons for this is, of course, Java 8 is end of life here in about 2030. And so to get out in front of that, we're going to release Niagara 5 with a new version of Java. Now before we were thinking it's going to be Java 21, but folks, we're going to actually take that to the next level. We're going to go to Java 25. Now at the end of the day, what it means to you is that you have a version, or we have a version of Java that we're going to be able to utilize through the lifespan of Niagara 5. That means no more breaking changes if you're a developer. Or, for example, if you have to move to a platform, different platform rather, we don't want to have to introduce that during the life cycle of Niagara 5. We want to give you the ability to use the same platforms you know and love, along with those applications you've built, you've invested your time into. We want you to be able to carry those forward. Now, of course, we're going to have a new UI, UX, and that's on the Workbench side. So we do have kind of a prototype of that we have on display at the booth. I encourage all of you to come by, take a look at it rather, and let us know what we're missing. Let us know if there's some things that you've always wanted to see in Workbench. Now is the time, folks. In fact, we've been releasing an N5 called End User Group Survey over the past couple weeks, and we're going to continue to do so. Please participate. We want your feedback. Now, if you don't have the opportunity to do that, this is why we're here. We want to hear from you. Let us know the things that you're able to use today and some of the things that you really feel need to be improved. Now, one thing in particular that at least I can anticipate are the graphics. You know, you want the ability to be able to create a modern-looking UI. Not one that looks like a UI would be designed about 10, 15 years ago. And so we'll have some new graphics, some new, we'll call them widgets that you're going to be able to use within Niagara 5 to make that whole graphics creation experience that much better. And something that will actually delight the users that we're turning this thing over to. Now, in keeping true to the whole spirit of reducing the labor that you put into the product, we're also going to be releasing a new set of templates for Modbus devices. Who doesn't love configuring Modbus registers, right? That's what we all love to do. Well, what we're trying to do in particular with that is be able to give you a kind of complete list of Modbus devices that we believe are the most commonly deployed so that you can just drag and drop into your station or deploy with a couple of clicks, and everything is already pre-configured. Now, of course, if you want to remove certain points, you can certainly do that, but think of that time that it's saving. Instead of you having to go to the end of that config guide, looking through all the registers and saying, yeah, need that point, need that point, need that point. It's just in Niagara, you could just delete the points you don't need, you address the device, and you're done. These are these time-saving enhancements that we are hyper-focused on at this time. Your business is so important to us. The labor you put into each job is something that we want to help you improve. And the whole reason behind that is so that you can go and get more jobs. We want you to be successful. And we want you to have the assuredness that you have a manufacturer that wants to take that journey with you and that cares about the work that you put into each job, because not only does it reflect on you, but when something is not working, it's reflection on us. And accountability and integrity is one of the most important values, not only from a Tridium standpoint, certainly from a Honeywell one as well. And so we want to carry that forward. And the mission of Niagara 5 is to make that journey something that's much more closely aligned, and of course something that delivers value when you need it. Now, we've had certain customers that have requested whether we will support high availability, or redundancy rather. And if you think about the growth of the data center vertical in particular, this has come up more frequently than not. And so Niagara 5 will introduce high availability support. So first what we're going to do is at the JACE level, and this is for the use case where you just need that data synchronization. And so that's just where you've got a primary and a secondary. All the data going to the primary needs to be synced with the secondary to ensure that there's no loss of data. Again, that data integrity is so critical. And so the next bit will be, of course, focusing on, what can we do with the I/O when you have JACE that's actually physically controlling equipment. And so to do that, we're actually working on a new set of input-output modules. So if you've grown accustomed to using our IOR 16 or IOR 34, you'll be delighted to know that that is what we are currently working on, refreshing as we speak, Now, one of the hallmarks of that is you're actually going to get a universal input-output across the entire board. So think about that flexibility that it's going to afford you. Now, in addition to that, if you've used a 16, an IOR 16, I think I've talked to a few of you about this, that 15-volt power input is being trashed. We're just going to go with the 24-volt. So if you've ever run into that issue, you've smoked one of those things in the control panel, we'll be pleased to know that won't be the case when we release the IOR 16. Now, given some of the changes we have to make within those I/O modules, that's going to enable us to do that next level critical control from a high availability standpoint. And so again, that's when the Jace is physically controlling the equipment, whether it's plant, it's an air handler, you're going to have that ability to be able to fulfill that spec requirement. But another thing that we're doing within Niagara 5 is really embracing the use of AI. But we're doing it in a way that is intended to improve the manner in which you work with the product. It's focused on two critical objectives. It's reducing the time to find information, or reducing the time to spend doing a certain task. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you've used a Copilot, for example, you've quickly realized that, hey, if somebody's going to send you one of those novel emails, just put it in a Copilot and ask it to summarize it for you. You know, for those that are just can't read through some of those, I encourage you to do it. It's pretty amazing what it'll generate. But when you think about, hey, I'm looking at a OPC-UA network. I'm a traditional BACnet, maybe I know LAN. This is a new protocol for me. I need some guidance on how I should configure this, or what those data types look like. What's an import versus an export? Why are these things nested? Being able to ask just a general text query is to saying, what is this? How do I configure it? Just through a common language query. And then being able to get the results, which not only are from our technical documentation, but we're also using all of the valuable questions that you all ask within the Niagara community site. Now, of course, James and some of our other talented engineers, they respond to. We're taking all of that and we're training a model for that to ensure that when you ask those questions, you are getting the appropriate response that's guiding you through that workflow. Now, being able to work through a technically challenging issue is one thing, but being able to actually have it assist with the configuration and the setup of that station is another. And those are things that we're also doing. And we're doing that because we believe that we owe it to you. There's been, I think I saw 4 slides that talked about the changing labor workforce and how we're seeing a lot of people age out of this industry. We're not seeing younger people come into the fold as quickly as we would like. Now, if we want to encourage them to do so, we need to ensure that they have the appropriate training and guidance to be able to turn over a operable and successful instance to that customer. Because like Teddy Ballgame said, Mr. Williams, you know, there's only few industries where you can be 3 out of 10 and be considered successful. If it's your first time as a system integrator and you get burnt by the experience, you know, are you going to walk away from the job? That's not what we want. And so we need the ability to be able to kind of guide you through that journey. And we're going to do that through a couple ways. The connectivity with the cloud is key. And that's why going forward within Niagara 5, whether it's a cloud supervisor or just a standard Jace, we're going to be offering an option for you to be able to actually have that intrinsic and always-on cloud connectivity, the ability to have a phone home with a central cloud that's aware of what that config file looks like. And the reason why we're doing that is so it knows the right guidance to give you when you are working through a problem, when you're configuring an instance. And that all is going to result in a much more operable instance. It's less tech support calls for Cochrane, for us, and it's more time back in your day. That time is so valuable in what you do. We want to empower you to be able to take on 2 times the number of jobs that you did before. Now that requires us to implement NLP, or natural language processing, in Niagara, and those are all things that we will be doing within Niagara 5. But again, it requires really that integration with the cloud. Now when you do have that, of course, the SI, you as an SI, you'll be able to do far more than you did before, but think about that operator. Those are the ones in particular that we know can take all of our dreams and absolutely trash them because they want to run everything in override. When you're training them on how to use the system, they're looking at their phone or doing some other shit. That's not things that we really want. And so the whole idea of enabling Niagara to have this NLP capability would be able to give them the opportunity, hey, when they're looking at a set of alarms, maybe to provide a little guidance on why they should acknowledge them. They're a call to action. They're not just something to look at and then to put your feet back on the desk. That's not what this is about. The whole idea is to create an environment whereby people are given the right guidance to take them from the reactive and move them to the proactive. We saw that in that Distech presentation earlier. So some of these common themes, these market landscape trends that you have seen highlighted by every single speaker, that's what's driving our innovation from a Tridium perspective. Now, we are not going to stop there, though. We're not. ASHRAE 231 provides this great new opportunity for all of us as OEMs to be able to take Guideline 36 compliant sequences of operation and reflect them as templates in the product that you can then just drag and drop. And so think about that when you have, let's say, put in optimized start-stop algorithm. You think you've got everything working correctly, and then you find out that actually the air handling unit came on when it was supposed to at the scheduled time, even though the conditions which should have triggered that optimized start-stop sequence didn't occur. So getting a little more insights into why certain things happened and the actual really know-how on, yeah, you missed this one parameter, and giving you that feedback in a timely manner. Now, supporting the control descriptor language in ASHRAE 231 is going to give us the ability to have that sequence of operation packaged in every release. And if you're using Niagara for critical equipment control, it's just a drag and a drop onto a wire sheet or within the station, and you're good to go. Reducing that time that you would spend doing that. Now, what I want to also highlight about Niagara 5 is that we've got a couple exciting drops ahead. Is that at the end of the year, in December, we're going to have an alpha version. Now, that alpha version is for our developer community. And I think there's a few of them in the audience. I know Niagara Mods is at least here. Those are people we want to give them access to this version before we release it so that they have the time to refactor their modules, incorporate all the breaking changes that we made so that when we release the next version, which of course will include some of the UI changes, we're that much closer to having that full like end-to-end adoption within the community of Niagara 5. We want to ensure that we're remembering the lessons that Niagara 4's introduction taught us. We don't want to repeat them. But we also want to ensure that we're giving you all time to validate what we're building. If we're missing something, we want to know about it. The good stuff, while we love to hear that, the bad stuff is of equal importance for me and the rest of the team, because it gives us the opportunity to do something different and to ensure that those differences are reflected in the product and they all align with the things you need in order to be more successful as a company, as a professional, and certainly as an industry. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for your time today. I'd like to thank for the investment that you put towards not only the Niagara framework, but to this conference and to the ongoing success of the smart buildings industry. If you have any other questions, please stop by our booth, and we'd love to have the conversation with you. Thank you.
So, Stephen, that was a lot of information, wasn't it, everybody? You will be tested later. I hope you guys got notes. So, Stephen, that was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
So Niagara 5, that's exciting.
Yes, it is.
So I'm just going to ask the question I know they're all going to ask, which is, when do we get to play with it?
Yeah. So if you're a developer, you're going to have an alpha version that will be in December. And that's really intended for you to be able to incorporate all those breaking changes, refactor your modules so that they can start running within Niagara 5. Now that's going to contain the same UI that you have in Niagara 4, and what that's going to do is give us time to continue to build out that new UI that we have. Now we're expecting from a beta standpoint, where you guys can all start to try the stuff out, see what it looks like, we're expecting that will be available in about the March timeframe.
Okay, great. All right, one more quick question. Where did you get those awesome sunglasses?
You know, Scott, that's a great question. And it might have been something that, well, you know, I was hoping to use as a hook to get you all to come talk to us at the booth. Whether it's Niagara 5, whether it's the Jace 9000, some of the issues you're experiencing with some of the versions you're using today, we want you to come by. We want you to take a few of these home. If your kids like them, take 3, because you know a couple of them will get lost. Or if you just need some shades, stop by.
Stephen doesn't want to take them home.
No, I don't.
He'd prefer you guys take them here.
Indeed, indeed.
Great job. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.